live from New York. Today on the program, President Biden outlines a plan for a ceasefire in Gaza,
a full and complete ceasefire,
and suggests Benjamin Netanyahu is prolonging the war to stay in power. What will it take for Israel and Hamas to reach a truce? I will ask Richard Haas. And in a dramatic shift, Biden issued an executive action this week capping the number of migrants who can seek asylum at the U.S.-Mexico border. Will this help him politically, or is it too late? I'll talk to the New Yorker's Jonathan Blitzer. Also this week, Mexicans elected their first female president who will likely continue the policies of the populist leader AMLO. I'll dig into what it means and what worries the political analyst Denise Dresser. Plus, I'll talk to Ruchir Sharma about what he says has gone badly wrong with capitalism. But first, here's my take. Indian commentators are running out of adjectives to describe the election results in the world's largest democracy. Surprising, shocking, stunning, among others. The results have diverged sharply from most predictions, including those of exit polls and of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who confidently declared that his party would win 370 seats and his coalition would scale 400. In the end, his party, the BJP, got 240 and his coalition 292. The Indian stock market crashed as the results trickled in. But markets can be wrong. This could well turn out to be good news for India politically and even economically. Why did Modi lose so much ground? One important reason was many opposition parties came together and projected one common candidate as the face of their alliance, which meant the anti-BJP vote did not splinter. The BJP's share of the total number of votes in this election, 37%, was roughly the same as in the last one. Yet this time it translated into 63 fewer seats in parliament. Voters also seem to have wanted to personally rebuke the Prime Minister. At least 20 of his ministers lost their elections. Modi's own victory in his parliamentary constituency was surprisingly narrow. His race ranked 116th of the 240 BJP victories by margin, among the lowest ever for a sitting Prime Minister. The party even lost in Ayodhya, the town where Modi had built a massive new temple on the site of a mosque that was torn down and inaugurated with great fanfare just months before the election. The results are most remarkable considering the many advantages that Modi had. He is the incumbent prime minister. His party massively outspent the opposition, using an election financing scheme so blatantly one-sided that even India's often compliant courts eventually shut it down. The agency charged with promoting government policies spent millions on ads with Modi's face on them, reminding Indians of Modi's guarantees that the economy would soar and their lives would be improved. Many government benefits in India, from vaccine cards to bags of grain, come with Modi's beaming smile, as if they were personal gifts from a generous benefactor. In addition, opposition politicians were investigated by tax authorities. The leader of the opposition was unseated from his parliamentary seat. 2 chief ministers, the equivalents of governors of states in America, were jailed, and opposition party funds were frozen to make it virtually impossible for them to operate or travel. And yet, India's voters, many of them still poor, poorly educated, and vulnerable, 1 in 4 of whom are illiterate, voted for checks and balances, for limits to power, and against the excessive cult of personality. During the campaign, Modi campaigned with the pomp and ceremony of a monarch, even claiming that his birth was not a biological event, implying that it had spiritual origins. India's voters seem to have reminded him that he is human. Under Modi's rule, India's economy has boomed, but its democratic institutions have suffered badly. All 3 independent and widely respected NGOs that assess countries' democratic levels have downgraded India dramatically, documenting abuses of authority decline in independent press, and politicized judiciary and independent agencies. The fact that so many Indians appear to have lied to pollsters in the exit polls tells you that they probably feared reprisals. But now Modi faces an emboldened opposition, state governments that will stand up to him more strongly, and a media and civil society that might even be willing to push back against governmental power and abuse. Investors and businessmen have been most worried by the election results. They see Modi as pro-business with a good track record on the economy, and they love the idea of a strong leader that they are sure a developing country needs to prosper. But they are wrong. The country that first broke out of the ranks of the developing world and became a rich country was post-World War II Japan. It did so under a series of colorless prime ministers. Two other economies that had breakneck growth over the last 6 decades, greater than even China over that long run, are South Korea and Taiwan. For most of that time, they have also had bland leaders who just muddled through. India's own seismic economic reforms took place under a coalition government headed by an unknown Prime Minister, Narasimha Rao, who only got the job because the Congress Party leader Rajiv Gandhi had been assassinated. The prior BJP leader, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who presided over strong growth, also headed a coalition. In fact, since 1989, coalition governments have been the norm in India, one to which it appears to be returning. Average income growth under the last coalition government, headed by Manmohan Singh, was actually slightly higher than during Modi's tenure in office. Many sophisticated observers of the world often laud strongmen who run poorer countries, who can build roads and get things done. But the average Indian voter seems to instinctively understand that in the long run, pluralism, cooperation, diversity are all India's distinctive features and its enduring advantage. Go to cnn.com/Fareed for a link to my Washington Post column this week, and let's get started.